Hey, Coach Scott here, and today we're going back to talk about back pain. Sounds like Back to the Future, Coach. But back pain is something that I see a lot of in the studio. So it's something that I'm always diving into, always trying to help riders find the core source of that back pain. So let's play a little game with you. Let's put back pain into two camps to start with. Camp 1. Does your back pain disappear the minute you get off the bike? You step off the bike, start your nutrition recovery process, you start to clean the bike, and within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the back pain is eased incredibly. In fact, for most people, it's gone. Is that you? Or you get off the bike and your back still hurts. In fact, it hurts that evening, the next day it's still sore. If you're in the first camp, back pain is more likely muscular, and it's been brought about by instability in the muscles that are trying to stabilize the pelvis. So you are rocking, baby. You're rocking too much in that saddle and you're overloading those muscles. You're just basically making them tired. If you fall into camp 2 and the back pain is still there in the evening, it's still there the next day, in fact it's not really going away, that's more of a structural issue. This may be a joint issue, it may be a disc issue. It's definitely been brought about by some symmetrical or asymmetrical, that one side is firing up more than another. But it may be that the fit on the bike is wrong and we're reaching too much as well. So let's go through some reasons that may be contributing to that back pain and fix them without spending a penny. So, here's my little pelvis. So I want you thinking about, in basic terms, the glute muscle, okay? I've got my hand on the ass and we've got lower back muscles. In the lower back, there's a group of muscles and they're helping stabilize the pelvis. The glute is involved in both stabilizing and the pedal stroke. So what we've got to understand is, if it's a muscle, muscle requires energy, energy is going to run low, therefore it's going to be overloaded. And it's asked to do a job that it really doesn't want to do in great volume. Why? Because it's weak, because you haven't worked your core or your postural support muscles as much as you should do. And you need to. So we'll come back to that at the end of the video, but let's look at some of the reasons and give you some solutions. Reason number 1, your saddle's too high. Oh, coach, you always go on about that. I do, because it's true. And so many people do it, and they think that it's another reason that's giving them the back pain. Lower your saddle 5 millimeters. Your next ride, go out with your tools and lower it for 5 millimeters, ride for 20 minutes, lower it again, play around with the height and allow yourself time to get some sensory feedback. How does it feel on the back? Okay? Number 2, you're unstable through the feet. You've got instability through your feet. I want you to think of walking about all day on your tiptoes. Not only would it look funny, by the way, obviously if you're in high heels, that doesn't count, okay? I personally don't wear high heels, not anymore, but there's plenty of women I know who do. But you're in tiptoes with your heels in mid-air. That's not very stable. Somebody could come and push you over and you'd fall over. So think about it. When you sit on the saddle, you place your feet in your cleats. If those cleats are too far forward, you're on your tiptoes more than you need to be. Now, I'm not talking about toe down, heel down, flat pedaling. I'm talking about cleat position. Move them back. Try and stabilize your feet so that underneath your glute, you're more stable. This can help decrease the rocking through the pelvis. Number 3, your saddle's too far back. Yeah, it's too far back and your glute is deactivated. You've heard me talk about this before. Deactivate the glute. The glute is deactivated. So not only is it not involved in the pedal stroke, but it's not been asked or in the correct position to stabilize the pelvis. And what happens? Your quadricep becomes the bully, it dominates the pedal stroke, it tires really quickly, you start rocking even more, because guess what? Your quad can't stabilize the pelvis like you think it does. More rocking, more fatigue, boom. You're an hour, you're 90 minutes into your ride, and your back is screaming at you. So what do I do, coach? Move the saddle forward 3, 5 millimeters. We've talked about this before, because that shortens the saddle, doesn't it? So you may be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Oh, move the cleats further back. You may be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. We don't do any killing. It's an old phrase in the UK. Now the next reason may be the pedals. It may be that your Q factor is too close together. So if you've got wide hips sitting on the saddle, coming into a narrow Q factor, again, that is going to increase instability because you've got a narrow base to hold everything on top. So you need to be thinking about potentially increasing the spindle length of the pedals so that your feet come further out. There is some manipulation you can do on your cleats. I would try that first. But then you're looking at pedals such as, say, Shimano's Ultegra Duro-S. They have a 4mm spindle extension we can have. There are other pedal groups, say Speedplay. I have some here that I use in the studio. We can have a standard spindle, or we can have this big long 12mm. So that will help people who potentially need the wider Q factor. But it may be your bike choice. Remember, a mountain bike will have a wider Q factor as well. So does your back hurt more on the road bike than it does on the mountain bike? That's your answer straight away, Sherlock Holmes. It's a Q factor issue. Okay, let's look at some areas that will need some investment financially. The first one is your Q factor. So let's say that your pelvis is wider than average, but you're asking it to come in closer to interact with the pedals. So I see this a few times with riders who have tried everything and they can't fix that back pain. Basically, they're unstable because they've got a narrow, small base to hold everything on top. So you could look at things like a Shimano Duro-S or an Ultegra pedal. It's got a 4mm extension through the spindle. Pedals such as Speedplay, we've got a standard length, and then we've got the long 12mm. Now this obviously is extreme, but it can help widen that stance, therefore work in line with the pelvis and stabilise. Here, I'll give you a little free tip. Let's say you've got a mountain bike, and when you ride on your mountain bike, you don't get the same discomfort through the back. Okay, yes, the reach is slightly different on your mountain bike, but so's the Q factor. Q factor on the mountain bike is wider than it is on your road bike. It may just be the thing that's shouting at you, and you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to work it out. So it's something to try. The next thing I want to talk about that will require some investment is the crank arm length. So this is this piece of metal where the pedal sits on the end, piece of metal. Not very descriptive, but I'm trying to make it simple. If this is too long for you, it will push the hip higher at the top of the dead spot. And at this spot here, we want the foot in a position where it can be relaxed. There is no pressure because on the other side, the foot is sweeping through. Yeah, check out that video on cadence. As it sweeps through, it will enter the stroke. But if at this point it's too high, there will be an impingement as it lifts the hip. At that point, if it's too high, it does that. So the dog having a PE syndrome. And what will happen is, if that happens on one side, it'll rock back and forward. Yep, we're rocking again, baby. So it might just be that you're on a bike that you've bought during lockdown or pandemic, or you've been given from a friend and you thought, what a great deal. I love the colour of that bike. It's got the wrong crank length for you. And you've tried all the other reasons that I've given and it's still hurting your back. Let's get it fixed. Okay, I hope that's helped. There's 3 really easy reasons to follow, and then there's those 2 more advanced that will involve some investment. Now, I have missed out a huge big area, and I'm going to save that for several videos, and that is exercises that will develop your core strength, but comes with a caveat. Let's say that you do develop your core strength and you're very stable through the pelvis. You're only going to offset the back pain. You're not going to send it away, are you? You're not going to make it disappear. You're just going to delay the impact it has on your riding. You've got to get to the core source. Now, I mentioned at the start the structural issues, that it may be a joint issue. I would strongly recommend going to see an expert. If you've done everything that I've said and you get that back pain and it's still lasting for days after that ride, because there's so many other things it can be, from a disc, from acute inflammation within a joint. Hey, I hope that helped. And remember, if the video's been of any value to you, give it a thumbs up. Please let YouTube know that what we're putting out there is valuable content. But it can only become more valuable if you tell me what you want to see. Hey, drop a comment in. Hey coach, do a video on this, do a video on that. I'm here for you. I'm in the studio between appointments. I've got a bit of time and I do like talking, as you probably worked out. Okay, you stay safe, keep spinning, keep smiling, and remember, anyone can train hard. There's only a few of us can can train smart.